As the darkness settled outside, Taya and Yaroslav came to a halt in front of the girl. "It was a wonderful evening," he said, gently squeezing her hands. "I hope we can do it again." "I'd love to," Taya replied. "When will I see you again? The day after tomorrow?" "Yes, it's Vitalka's birthday, so we'll meet there, and we can arrange another date." "I'm looking forward to it," Taya said with a smile. They bid farewell, and Taya, beaming with joy, entered the building. She was elated. She had harbored feelings for Yaroslav for a long time, and finally he had noticed her and asked her out. Their date had been fantastic, and now he had already made plans for their next meeting. Taya arrived late to work, and she was the last to arrive at Vitalik's birthday party. Everyone was already gathered at a friend's apartment. Their group consisted of 12 people who had been friends since college. Taya knew that not everyone could make it that day. Simeon was still on a business trip, and Oleg and Alina couldn't attend due to work. But everyone else had promised to be there. Yaroslav didn't want to disclose their relationship to their friends just yet. He believed they should spend at least a month together before revealing the news. Taya didn't quite understand the need for secrecy. She was eager to share her happiness with the world. Nevertheless, she didn't argue with him. Perhaps he had a valid point. Either way, she couldn't wait to see Yaroslav. Taya entered the apartment, presenting her gift to the birthday boy before making her way into the room. Her friends surrounded her from all sides. She exchanged greetings, shared news, and maintained a constant smile. These people had become more than just friends to her. They were practically a second family. "Where are Yaroslav and Vasilisa?" she asked. "Are they not here yet?" "Here they are. Vasya went to the kitchen to get some wine. And as for Yarek, I'm not sure. He's somewhere around," her friend replied. "I'll go and say hello," Taya said, eager to find Yaroslav. Taya stepped into the kitchen and froze. Her heart sank as she witnessed her boyfriend, Yaroslav, passionately kissing Vasilisa. She took a convulsive breath, feeling the urge to run away. But in her haste, she accidentally knocked the lid off a pot, causing it to clatter and crash to the floor. Yaroslav and Vasilisa abruptly pulled away, startled by the noise. "What's going on here?" Taya whispered. "How could you?" "What's going on?" Vasilisa seemed surprised. "Taya, what are you doing?" "Yarek and I were just talking. I've been holding back for so long, but we decided to give it a try. And here we are. Aren't you happy for us? How long has this been going on?" Taya asked slowly. "We talked yesterday and today. We were waiting for you. We wanted to tell everyone together." Vasilisa smiled at her friend. "Is everything okay?" Taya glanced at Yaroslav, but he remained completely unperturbed, as if their time together just 2 nights ago hadn't existed. As if those magical moments between them had been erased. "Taya," he smiled, "you know I've had strong feelings for Vasya for a long time, and she finally gave me a chance. I'm so happy." That was all the explanation she would receive. The night that held so much significance for Taya meant nothing to Yaroslav. Vasilisa's allure had captivated him, and he willingly succumbed to her charm. Taya realized it was futile to compete with Vasilisa, the most beautiful girl in their class, and now a successful model. She had money, confidence, and a certain charm about her. Yaroslav had long been infatuated with Vasilisa, but she had always seen him only as a friend. Taya had believed he had moved on, come to terms with it, but apparently he hadn't. The 3 of them returned to the room. Yaroslav held Vasilisa's hand tightly, brimming with happiness. "Friends," he announced, "now that we're all gathered, we have some news to share. Vasilisa and I are finally together. We hid our feelings for a long time. Circumstances got in the way, but true love conquers all obstacles. And now?" Taya could barely hold back her tears. All she wanted was to escape and return home. But she was accustomed to suppressing her emotions and didn't want to appear foolish. So she stayed for another 2 hours, putting up a facade. Finally, she excused herself, claiming a severe headache, and left. She cried throughout the night. Now, seeing her friends' happy and affectionate faces, Taya found it difficult to be around them. Each kiss, each whispered word felt like a deliberate torment. Taya tried to distance herself, to distract her mind, but it seemed like an invisible force drew her towards the couple. In the days following Vitalik's birthday, Taya hoped that Yaroslav would call and offer an explanation. However, as time passed, she realized that she shouldn't hold onto that hope. The absence of his call only intensified her pain. "Taya, you seem really down today," her aunt remarked on Sunday as the whole family gathered for their weekly dinner. "What's troubling you?" Taya adored her Aunt Angela. Her mother's younger sister was an intelligent woman, modern and in tune with the world. It often seemed to Taya that Aunt Angela understood her peers better than Taya herself. Her aunt always had something going on, with a wide circle of acquaintances, and she was frequently involved in romantic pursuits. Longing to confide in someone, Taya instantly shared with her aunt everything that had transpired in her life over the past few days. "I don't understand. Did you only go on one date with him or not?" Aunt Angela asked once Taya finished her jumbled account. "Officially, yes," Taya replied. "But you could say we were dating for almost 2 weeks. He would pick me up from work. We'd have dinner together. We went shopping, watched movies, and talked about our relationship. We held hands, we kissed. I know 2 weeks isn't long, but couldn't he have talked to me, warned me?" Taya anticipated her aunt to dismiss her concerns and reassure her that there was nothing to worry about. However, Aunt Angela surprised her with a different response. "Taya, I know this guy. His name is Nicholas," she suddenly said. "He's a really nice guy. He, along with 2 other friends, recently opened their own gym. They're doing a great job helping underprivileged kids get involved in sports. Oh, sorry, I got carried away. Anyway, Kolya, that's what we call Nicholas, was also dumped by someone recently. It hit him hard too. Shall I introduce you?" "Why?" Taya wondered. "I'm not really in the mood for a relationship right now, and I don't think he would be either. There's no point in indulging." "Taya, you misunderstand me," Aunt Angela interjected. "I just want to introduce you. You can talk, support each other. He understands your feelings like no one else at the moment." "All right," Taya shrugged. "Introduce me then." Taya and Nikolai immediately clicked and found a strong connection. Kolya invited Taya to his gym, even though she had never been particularly interested in sports. Initially, she went along more to observe than to actively participate. However, as Nikolai passionately spoke about his club, Taya found herself drawn to it. Taking Nikolai's advice, she decided to give boxing classes a try. Initially, she thought it would be a temporary gesture to please him, expecting to prove that she wasn't cut out for it. But to her surprise, it turned out to be the opposite. Taya fell in love with boxing from her very first class. Meanwhile, Yaroslav and Vasilisa continued their relationship, appearing to be blissfully happy. Taya would often observe Yaroslav embracing Vasilisa and whispering sweet nothings in her ear. In those moments, Taya found solace in her newfound passion for boxing. It helped her escape from her thoughts and distractions. Yaroslav, almost intentionally, would repeatedly stoke the fire by suggesting postponing gatherings whenever Taya mentioned her inability to attend. Today, Taya was in a rush. Oleg and Alina, their mutual friends from the group, had recently announced their engagement, and everyone was gathering to celebrate the occasion. Taya hadn't seen Alina in a while and was looking forward to the reunion. Additionally, it was the first time in a long while that the entire group would be together. As Taya entered the cafe, she quickly greeted everyone and hurriedly went to make a phone call to Nikolai. She had completely forgotten about their scheduled training session. She realized she should have informed him in advance that she wouldn't be able to make it. "Okay," Nikolai replied as soon as Taya explained why she had missed their training session. "But don't drink too much." Remember, you're an athlete now. It's time to focus on your form. Thanks, Cole, Taya chuckled. You always know how to support me. She bid farewell to her friend and was about to head back to the main area of the cafe when she heard voices approaching. Without knowing why, she instinctively hid behind a large tree that stood in the hallway. I've had enough of you, she heard Vasilisa's voice say. I've made my decision, and I don't understand why I have to explain myself to you. Taya recognized the familiar voice of Vasilisa. Maybe because we're in a relationship? Yaroslav responded. It's about my career, Vasilisa retorted sharply. All decisions concerning my career are mine to make. It has nothing to do with you. I'm saying it once again, I've made my decision, and I won't change it. This conversation is over. I'm not trying to change your mind, Yaroslav shouted. You didn't have to make it so clear that my opinion doesn't matter to you. With that, Vasilisa slammed the door of the ladies' room, leaving Yaroslav standing in the hallway. Taya cautiously emerged from behind the tree and made her way back into the hallway, trying to process what had just transpired. What were Yaroslav and Vasilisa fighting about? Was this the end of their relationship or just another quarrel? In the end, Taya speculated that Vasilisa had been offered a lucrative modeling contract, and Yaroslav didn't approve of the style or location of the shoot. She assumed that by the end of the evening, they would likely make up. Despite the unexpected drama, Taya had a great time at the party and had the chance to catch up with Alina. The following day, she resumed her normal routine. During lunchtime, her Aunt Angela called, expressing interest in seeing how Taya was progressing in boxing. What progress have you made? Taya wondered. I've only learned to hit a punching bag, and I'm not always successful. That's exactly what I want to see, her aunt replied. I can't make it today. Shall we go tomorrow? Sure, Taya agreed, but don't expect too much from me. Returning home in high spirits, she informed Nikolay that Aunt Angela would be coming to the gym to watch her. It didn't take long for Nikolay to show up, ready to support her. Why didn't you mention it earlier? Fetka won't be at the gym tomorrow, but Seryosa will be there, and I think he'll join us, Nikolay exclaimed. What for? Taya asked, puzzled. Nikolay looked at her with a perplexed expression. What do you mean, what for? You said your aunt was coming. We need to impress her. It would be cool if you knocked out Fedya. He's the biggest guy in our gym. Well, since he won't be there, you'll have to beat Seryoga. At least he's tall. Taya burst into laughter and quickly typed a reply. Why can't I beat you? She asked. I'm the coach, Nikolay replied with a grin. If you beat me, you won't have anything more to learn from me. And I'm not ready to let go of such a promising student just yet. With a wide smile on her face, Taya headed towards her front door, but suddenly froze. Yaroslav was sitting on the bench outside. Why are you here? She asked, surprised. Yaroslav clasped his hands together and sighed. This morning, I woke up and realized that I don't want to leave you anymore. I came to ask for your forgiveness. What about Vasia? Taya asked, still taken aback. Or did you not think it necessary to tell her that it was over between the two of you? Tai, please listen to me. I know I acted like an idiot, but it was like a moment of complete confusion. We started dating, and everything was going well. I was happy, and then suddenly Vasilisa changed her attitude towards me. I had been dreaming about her for so many years. I convinced myself that I couldn't just give her up. I didn't even understand how it happened. I didn't have time to tell you, and then I felt embarrassed to come and explain myself. And for that whole month, I realized that she wasn't the girl I truly wanted. But there was this inner voice telling me, you've wanted this for so long, how can you back out now? So I continued dating Vasilisa. But last night, I made the decision that enough was enough, and I ended things with her. Taya couldn't help but recall overhearing their argument at the engagement party. Was that why you broke up? She asked. Yaroslav hesitated for a moment. No, of course not, he replied. It was just a small, ordinary quarrel. It had nothing to do with the situation between us. Taya made up her mind to call her aunt and share the details of her conversation with Yaroslav. "What do you think?" she asked, concluding her story. "The most important thing is what you think," Aunt Angela replied. "I'm not sure," Taya admitted. "On one hand, we never made any promises to each other, but he was still inconsiderate. He should have talked to me beforehand. And, well, I'm just confused." "Taya, my dear, the question is not what he told you or what you told him," Aunt Angela wisely responded. "The question is, how do you feel? Do you still love him?" "I suppose so," Taya answered hesitantly, "because I've loved him for such a long time. Those feelings don't just disappear in a month. But today, he told me that he started dating Vasilisa because he had been in love with her for a long time. He couldn't resist the opportunity. It was a dream come true for him. But then he realized that a relationship with Vasilisa was only ideal in his dreams." "Well, his words do make sense," Aunt Angela acknowledged. "Consider this. You've been in love with him for a long time. You start dating a guy, and he turns out to be the one you've been dreaming about for so long. The one who seems like the perfect soulmate." "Yeah, I understand," Taya replied, beginning to see the situation from a different perspective. "It happens." "In that case, maybe you should give him a second chance," Aunt Angela suggested. "But Aunt Angela, what if I end up doing the same thing? We start dating, and then I become disappointed in him." Taya expressed her concern. "You won't know until you try," Aunt Angela reassured her. "I believe there's something else you should consider." "Well, yes," Taya agreed. "Maybe it sounds silly, but I overheard them arguing a few days ago. And when I asked him about it, he simply brushed it off and said it wasn't a big deal and had nothing to do with their breakup." "You think he's lying?" Taya asked her aunt, feeling uncertain about Yaroslav's explanation. "I don't know, Angela. I don't know anything, and I want to give it another try. But I'm scared," Taya confessed her mixed emotions. "How are things with Nikolay?" Aunt Angela inquired. "What does Nikolay have to do with this? We're just friends. You said you introduced us for no reason. And now you're suggesting I consult him?" Taya responded defensively. "Oh, Taya, I asked if you and Nikolay were close. Are you close friends? You've mentioned several times that you spend time at the club, but that's different," Aunt Angela clarified. "We socialize a lot," Taya admitted. "Then maybe you should seek his advice. He's a man and might understand Jaroslav's motives better," Aunt Angela suggested. Taya pondered, stretching out thoughtfully. "I think that's a very good idea. I'll call him right now." She dialed Nikolay's number and waited for him to pick up. "Hey Cole, are you free? I need to talk," Taya greeted him. "I'm listening," Nikolay replied. Taya proceeded to tell him in detail about her conversation with Yaroslav and the subsequent discussion with her aunt. "What do you think?" she asked, concluding her story. "Well, first of all, I want to remind you that every person is unique, and I could be completely wrong about Yaroslav's intentions. So what I'm about to say is just my perspective on the situation," Nikolay began. "All right," Taya agreed, eager to hear his thoughts. "I'm listening." "Secondly, I'm inclined to believe that the quarrel you mentioned is indeed connected to their breakup. And I would even bet that Vasilisa was the one who ended things. That's why he quickly shifted his attention to you. However, it doesn't mean he doesn't have feelings for you. But you mustn't forget that every man is still a hunter at heart. If you give up too easily, he might leave you for someone else, and you'll always be his backup," Nikolay explained, sharing his perspective on the matter. "Build a backup plan," Nikolay suggested. "Keep him as an option in case of emergencies. Drag it out, and maybe his feelings for you will deepen, or maybe they won't. The big question is, do you want that?" "Thank you," Taya said appreciatively. "I needed to hear all this. You've laid it out so clearly. It's becoming so clear to me. I have a lot to think about." "Well, take your time to think," Kolya replied. "Will you come to training tomorrow?" Of course, have you already arranged it with Sergi? Will he let me beat him? Taya asked jokingly. Sure, Nikolay laughed. The next day, Taya and her aunt arrived at the club. Her aunt went to talk to the instructors and trainers, while Taya headed to the changing room. As she was leaving the locker room, Nikolay intercepted her. Can we have a word? He asked. It won't take long. Of course, Taya agreed. What's the matter? Let's go to the office, he suggested. Have you made up your mind about Yaroslav? He asked once they were alone. I have, Taya replied firmly. I won't see him anymore. I don't know what happened between them, but it doesn't matter. I'm his second choice now, and I don't want that. I want to be the number one for my man. I've already communicated that to him. Thank God, Nikolay breathed a sigh of relief. Taya raised her eyebrows in surprise. Thank you for your concern, but why are you so relieved? Taya, Nikolay looked at her earnestly. I wanted to talk to you because I wouldn't want you to date Yaroslav, regardless of his intentions. Of course, we're friends, he smiled, but I would like to be more than just a friend. She sighed with relief. And here I thought I was the only one who, she looked confused. I have feelings too. So what are we going to do? I am a completely free man, and so are you, Nikolay explained. Besides, I trust you a lot. So it's quite obvious to me that now you go and show your aunt what a great fighter you are. Then we can go to the cafe and celebrate your success. After the cafe, I hope you'll let me walk you home and agree to go on a proper date with me tomorrow. I really like this plan, Taya smiled broadly. And so, Taya embarked on a new chapter in her life, leaving behind the confusion and uncertainty with Yaroslav. With Nikolay by her side, she found the courage to explore a new romantic possibility. The future held promises of love, growth, and exciting adventures, and as they left the club together, Taya couldn't help but feel optimistic about the path she had chosen.